All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode podcast real estate tip, where every single week I come to you delivering different tips, tactics, and strategies to help you get shit done and make sure that you are crushing and dominating your overall real estate business and your real estate goals. So today I wanted to break down and go deep into a topic that I think is extremely important for all of us to understand, all of us to be prepared for, which is how to push through very difficult times. Look, God does not reserve problems for just a select few. One thing that we all have in common, if you're in business long enough and just life long enough, right? Like, you're going to experience adversity. You're going to experience challenges. You're going to experience hardships. So what do we do, and how do we stay focused? And how do we push through when we're experiencing these difficult times? And then at the same time, keep our real estate businesses together, keep our real estate businesses growing, or at least maybe if they don't necessarily grow during that tough time, how to keep them from unraveling and falling apart. Look, you cannot impact one area of your life without impacting the other area. So maybe you're going through a personal tough time. Maybe you're going through a difficult time in a relationship, or you're going through, a breakup, or maybe you go through a business partnership breakup and you're going through a difficult time in your business, or, if you're going through financial challenges in your business, which then bleed over to financial challenges in your personal life. Maybe you've, lost a loved one, for whatever the reason may be. Maybe you're just experiencing depression, or, you're you're experiencing, substance addiction, or other challenges that so many of us experience, and myself included. Look, I've battled with massive bouts of depression. I've battled with substance addiction. I got to a point in my life where I couldn't get through till like noon every day without craving a drink and caving into and allowing myself to go out there and, start drinking at noon every single day and battle with those demons. And luckily I won that battle and I became successful with that, but I've experienced insane financial hardships where I've, made it and created financial success, and I lost everything, and not just lost everything, but went way below zero, like $100,000 in credit card, debt, and how to get myself out of those holes. And look, the different problems that we're going to experience can be different and unique to, us individually. But the one commonality is we are all going to experience problems. We're all going to experience hardships. As I said a moment ago, God does not reserve problems for just a select few. And one thing I learned, early on in my career, is I started doing everything I could to be around top producers and, the most successful, the top of our industry. Because I knew I wanted to become in the top of the top. So I was like, okay, I need to be hanging around with them. I got to be learning from them. I got to be mentored by them. And one thing I quickly realized is, look, they're human beings just like the rest of us. They're not, they're not experiencing these hardships and adversity and problems. They're experiencing massive shitstorms in the adversity and all the problems that a lot of us experience. And sometimes on like the more success that you create, the bigger the problems are. But what I quickly realized is these are just people that are willing to face these problems head on, and willing to push through them and never stop, never quit, no matter what. And in addition to that, they use those problems as great growth opportunities. When shit's going good, like, we don't necessarily learn from our successes in life. Where we learn or learn the most from, and if we allow these difficult times to become our best teachers, what we learn from is the adversity that we have overcome. Like, if I reflect back on my career and I look at all the awards and accolades and being in the top 1% of realtors and team leaders worldwide, and, over $2 billion in sales, and 30th top realtor in America by the Wall Street Journal, and NAR 30 under 30 finalist. And it's not that I'm not proud of, the awards and accolades, but that is not by any means at all what I'm most proud of. What I'm most proud of is all the adversity that I've overcome. Just the insane amounts of shit storms, right? And the resilience that I was able to build up, and the person that those situations allowed me to metamorphosize into, allowed me to become better, stronger, more disciplined and whatnot. That is what I'm most proud of. So the first thing that I want you to understand is, like, look, we are all going to experience these. So I don't want anybody to be delusional here. You are going to experience problems. This isn't just sunshine and rainbows. There's difficult, business can be tough. Life can be tough. Right. But then how do we respond to these difficult times? So I'm going to walk you through what my 8-step process is of what I do and what I recommend that you do to get through and continue pushing through these challenging times, not just to get through them, but to get from them, to get better, to use this adversity to grow, to metamorphosize into that next best version of yourself. And again, to make sure that your business isn't falling apart, you're not allowing your life to fall apart, like you're kind of quote unquote keeping our shit together, during these tough times, which I know is easier said than done. Don't get me wrong, man. I've had my fair share, problems, and I know that I'll have more. I'm not delusional about this, but for me, it's okay. There is a process for everything. So what is that process for us to break down, to follow, to be able to successfully navigate through these times, but not just get through them, but get from them. All right. So before I jump into these 8 different steps, look, if you are a real estate agent, team leader, or brokerage owner, and maybe your business is down, maybe you're struggling in your real estate business, maybe your business is down, or maybe it's stagnant, or maybe it's growing, but just not growing at the rate that you truly want it to be growing at. It's like you're operating down here, but your potential is way up here, and you just do not know exactly what to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. I want to invite you to schedule a 100% free, 100% zero pressure coaching call with me personally. This is going to be a 1-hour long coaching call. We're going to jump on Zoom. It's going to be in me and you. And here's what's going to take place during this free coaching call is we're going to look at where your business is currently at, what your 12-month goals are, what your long-term vision and goals are, what you are currently doing, what your biggest obstacles are that you're experiencing. Then from there, I'm going to walk you through and I'm going to map you through and coach you through exactly what I recommend that you do to get from where you're at to where it is that you want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. It's like, man, if we were to switch shoes and if I were you in your position, here's exactly what I would do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. And again, the quickest, most effective, efficient, and profitable way possible. So if you are stuck and do not know exactly what you need to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go, I highly encourage you to take advantage of scheduling this 100% free, zero pressure coaching Zoom call with me personally. Now, full disclosure, we're going to spend about 50 minutes going through this, and I'm going to make sure you know exactly what to do and have full clarity on what you need to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. And then the last 10 minutes, I'm going to spend a few minutes walking through some possible coaching options, that I have to see if they're a fit for you. And if they are, cool. If not, that's okay too. We can still be friends. Everything I do, zero pressure. So I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to hard sell you. None of that. That is not my style. If it's for you, cool. If not, that's okay too. I still will make sure you have my word that I will make sure that this is an extremely powerful coaching call for you. So you got everything to gain, nothing to lose. So if you'd like to schedule that, go to www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. All right, so now we're going to break down and jump into the 8 steps that I've just learned from going through my own personal shitstorms, my own difficult times, right? My 8 different steps of how to push through, and not just push through, but get better to improve, because that's the overall goal here. Because as I said, pain and power come from the same place. Now, this isn't part of these 8 steps, but this is something to kind of get excited about. Now, I know that this can sound a little bit morbid because it's like, oh, well, man, you look forward to pain. No, I'm not going to say like it sucks going through it. However, like internally and from a mental standpoint, when I'm going through these really difficult, painful times, I also then know deep down, and what allows me to push through them and not lose, faith or hope or any of that, is I know at the other end of this is going to be a much better version of myself. I look at this, and I don't know if you're spiritual or religious or what your belief system is, but I happen to be religious, and I happen to believe in God. And I look at this as, man, this is God testing me. This is God, so when a lot of people go out there and pray for things like success, right? With that, well, I know if I want to do better, if I want more success, God is going to put challenges in my path that allow me to become the next better version of myself that is then capable of creating the next level of success. So I look at all of this stuff as, hey, look, this is in my path for a reason. There's a lesson that is meant for me to be learned here through this. Right. So it's just kind of that mental framing. I know that might be woo-woo for some of you, but that's just a perspective I look at this as, so right. Then it allows me, to really seek, that pain that I'm experiencing and really look for, okay, what are those big growth moments? What are those learning lessons? And this then allows me to stay away from this entitlement victim. Oh, poor me. Why am I going through this? It's like, okay, no, I know I'm supposed to be going through this. Maybe I don't understand it, but I know I'm supposed to be going through this. Right. And this is a lesson that I need to learn for whatever reason. I heard a saying one time that I love, which was, if you want to make God laugh, tell God your plans. Like sometimes, hey man, sometimes we got our whole life planned out, everything planned out, and shit just doesn't work out that way, right? So, okay, I got to have some faith and I got to have some trust that there's bigger things at work here beyond me, and this obstacle is now in my path to allow me to learn, to allow me to grow, to allow me to metamorphosize into that next better version of myself. Because if we have this victim mindset, this entitled victim mindset, you're going to rob yourself of the growth. So what is the entitled victim mindset? Oh, well, why is this so challenging? Why is this so hard? Why am I going through this? Life shouldn't be this way. I deserve to just be happy. Right? That's the entitled victim mindset. Right. But we can't allow her. And it's easy to go there. Like that's used to be me. I'm not trying to pick on anybody here. That used to be me, but I used to get no growth out of that. And my problems would just reoccur and reoccur and reoccur and not get better because I was giving up my own internal power to things. I was blaming things, when you're blaming everybody else, when you're blaming other people, or like even if you're, let's just say you're going through a relationship problem. Right. Well, if I just blame that other person, okay, well, then there's going to be no growth experience for me. And I'm not going to say that other person may not be at fault. Maybe it's a bad business partnership breakup or a personal life breakup that you're going through, whatever. I'm not saying that person's, may not have some fault here in whatever the situation may be. But that's not what I'm focused on. What I'm focused on, okay, what did I do to contribute to this? What areas were my fault that I led to this? So I can now, that's what winners do, right? If you got to be proactive, if you want to go out there and grow and expand, you got to operate from a winner's mindset. Okay, so step number one with this comes down to acceptance and dealing in realities, right? So when I say acceptance, okay, we got to accept the situation for what it is, whatever that situation is. And there's too many examples of too many hardships for me to, go into all the different examples. But let's just say it's a crazy hard financial time. And maybe that hard financial time puts strains on relationships all the way to ending different relationships and whatnot. Okay, look, I got to have acceptance. It just is what it is. I can't, sit there and wish things were different. I can't, and again, I can't just like, that's not going to do me any good. It's just, hey, here is the situation. Here's where we're at. Okay, I'm going to accept the situation. Now, sometimes like in that moment, if it's a relationship thing, if it can be salvaged, okay, there's things that, but you still have to accept the moment that you're at with this. Okay, so I'm going to have this element of acceptance, and then I'm going to deal in realities. So, okay, hey, the situation is the situation. No longer I'm going to wish things were different. Hey, here is where we are at. Here is where I am at this time. Now I'm going to deal in realities. And again, the situation is the situation. We can't change what's happened to us, but we can then choose how we respond then to this situation. So when I'm dealing in realities, it's okay. Hey, here's where I'm at. Now, what am I going to do about this situation? So that's step number one. Now, I'm going to get into the actual planning and strategy here in a moment, but step number one is just the acceptance and then dealing in realities. So the acceptance, realization, and dealing in realities. Okay, step number two now is reflection. So before I start getting busy on taking action of what my new strategy and plan is to get myself out of the situation, turn things around. So step number two, though, is reflection. So I'm going to reflect deeply on this. And sometimes, hey, look, sometimes we need to take a week, right before we can get in this reflection process. Sometimes it's a couple hours, sometimes it's a day. Once you get really trained at this and you get conditioned at this, then we can jump into this immediately. But when I say the reason why I say sometimes we need a little bit of a pause is because when we are reflecting, we need to remove our internal emotional state out of this, which is much easier said than done. Believe me, I get it. I know I've been there. Again, I've been through, my fair share of shitstorms myself, right? But what I mean by this is, it's so when we're getting emotional and it's just oh, it's this person, it's this person, it's this person. No, when we're reflecting, we need to remove those emotions from it, be able to analyze and assess the complete situation. And we're going to ask ourselves, okay, how am I responsible? And I don't care what it is. Like maybe it's an extreme scenario. You had somebody working in your company, and they embezzled a bunch of money from you. And I haven't had anybody that's actually embezzled money from me, but I've been in business partnerships where I wasn't, being involved in the way that I should. And next thing I know, my partner's making decisions and, losing us, multiple six figures. That puts us into a tough spot. Right. Okay. Well, look, I can sit there and blame the partner. I can blame the other person, but hey, look, I chose that partnership. I chose to not keep a closer eye on things. Right. So again, even if there's other people at fault, right? You still need to make sure that you are taking 100% full responsibility, because this is what true leaders do. This is what true winners do. And this is the only way you're going to facilitate that growth. So how am I at fault? What was my part in leading to this situation? Because once we identify that and deal in realities on what our fault is of that got us in this situation, then from there, we can then allow ourselves to learn from this. So after I reflect on this, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What do I need to put in place going forward to ensure I don't end up back here in this same situation again? Because look, mistakes happen. But if you repeat those mistakes over and over, then it no longer is a mistake. It becomes a conscious choice, right? So, okay, how am I at fault? What led me to getting into this position? What can I learn from this? What behaviors do I need to change? What habits do I need to change? What do I need to go work on about myself internally? From a character or habitual, whatever, situation. Okay, what systems and processes do I need to put in place to ensure that I never get back here again? Yeah, right. And look, sometimes you might end up back there again, but that's something, maybe we miss something. We learn and grow from it again. I'm not going to say I'm perfect with this. And, I've, especially with finances, took me a long time to like I'd make it, I'd lose it, I'd make it, I'd lose it. I thought I learned my lesson, but then I got blindsided by a new situation and had to learn a new lesson in addition to that lesson, but each time, okay, we're getting better. It's easy to figure out. It's a lot easier to figure out what to do in life. It's a lot more difficult to figure out what not to do. So sometimes we need to go through these journeys to figure out what not to do. I've had business mistakes, you guys, where I have lost millions, right? Like made massive business mistakes where I have just got my shit kicked, the crap kicked out of me, got kicked in the teeth, multi-million-dollar mistakes that cost me years and whatever. Well, hey, am I going to sit there and whine about that? No, it is what it is. But those mistakes allow me to grow into that next best version of myself. So then boom, it takes me to a whole different new level. All right, so step number 2 is that deep reflection. Okay, now that we've reflected, now that we've learned about what led us to that, all of that stuff. Okay, now we want to reset goals and regain clarity. So what are overall goals, right? Get extreme clarity on what we want, why we want it, why it's important to us. Now you may have already thought you had goals and may have already thought that you had clarity. But now that you've been through this scenario and situation, a lot of times it changes our clarity. A lot of times it changes on what's most important to us. Maybe we thought something was important to us. Maybe we've learned through this situation that it wasn't or isn't, right? We kind of resets our goals. So I'm going to re-go through this again. I'm going to invest this time to go through and spend a lot of time. When I say a lot of time, maybe it takes a few days, maybe it takes a few weeks. I've had times where it takes me a month, to really sit and reflect and, well, what do I want? Right? Because here's and I learned this from a mentor of mine. He's like, look, when you're creating success, man, you're celebrating, but when you're at those low moments, you're pondering, right? And those big clarity moments, those big ahas, those can come in that negative pondering. Right. So that's why these times can be blessings. Right now we don't want to ponder for too long, but we need to sit there and regain clarity. Okay, what we've learned on this, what we've learned through this situation now, based on that, what are my overall goals? What is most important to me? When I'm setting these goals, I'm talking, not just short-term goals, short-term targets are only for us to achieve our long-term goals. So I'm saying, reset those long-term visions. Right? Like what is it that you want to go out there and do in all aspects of your life? Okay, let me go out there and reassess what's most important to me with my health. Now that I've went through this, let me reassess what's most important to me with my relationships. Now let me reassess what's most important to me with my overall wealth building plan. Now let me reassess what's most important to me with my overall business. Because a lot of times, during these painful moments, we identify things that maybe were important to us or things that weren't important to us that we thought were. So it's a great time to go out there and reassess these because you're going to have new discoveries. So we're going to go regain clarity and reset those goals. Then now step number 4 is we need to now come up with our overall plan, our overall, with our best strategy plan, the best proven plan to get from where we're at to where we want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient way possible in each aspect of these new goals. right? Because one of the things that is going to turn around your situation, turn around your mental state is getting back into action as soon as you possibly can. Look, when we have too much time on our hands, we're sitting around too much, we're thinking too much. Like, I know that, like sitting around thinking and pondering, I know I just am going to kind of contradict myself here, but that's why I said, yeah, when we're pondering, you want to ponder, but not ponder for too long, right? Like too much time on your hand is a negative. Right? Like you want to get busy. If you're sitting there too much, you worry too much, you can think too much, allows too many negative thoughts to kick in. We want to get into action and start turning shit around as soon as we possibly can, even if you're still depressed, even if you're unmotivated, even if you mentally and physically feel like shit. We want to get into action as soon as we possibly can. So step number 4 is coming up with, okay, for each new goal that you've set, come up with, at least at the time that you can, what is the best strategy plan? A strategy is just the overall effective plan to get from where you're at to where you want to go. So you're going to come up with that plan for for your health, for your relationships, for financial, for wealth, for your business, for each of those. And I recommend to have a plan for each. If you've ever been through my actual goal setting and business planning strategies, it's like I make sure to have a well-rounded strategy plan, not just for business, but you cannot impact one area of your life without impacting the other area of your life. Because look, when you're in a very down spot, here's what I can tell you, man. Okay, all of a sudden you start taking action in your business, you're staying laser focused in your business, and you're growing your business, and you're increasing your income. Then at the same time, you're at the same time getting in the best shape of your life. At the same time, you're also building those relationships that are most important to you. Like, dude, the amount of growth that you're going to experience, and just the amount of fulfillment, and your situation just can turn around so damn fast. But we need to get into action, but not just get into action. We need to get into action on taking the right actions. And this is what the strategy plan does for you. Okay, so then step number 5 is setting up your physical environment and your systems to ensure that you're able to execute on that plan, eliminate distractions. And when I say your physical environment, right, like there's certain things that are making you feel bad. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into these in step 6 and 7 about this, but just remove those distractions and you want to have your physical environment where it's and physical environment, your systems in place where it's as easy as possible to go out there and execute on your plans and win as easy as possible and as difficult as possible to go out there and lose. And again, like we got to keep taking action. Don't allow your mind to go negative. I mean, you're going to have negative thoughts in your mind when going through these tough times. Like I get it. I know what it's like to through multiple times, almost out, every hour on the hour, because you're so filled with stress. Like you're just trying to figure out a way to not freaking throw up because you're like, levels of stress to that magnitude. I know what that's like. So I'm not trying to say that, oh, Josh, you can't relate. You haven't been there. Like, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I've walked in your shoes because I haven't, but you also haven't walked in my shoes. I know the pains and problems that I've had, and I've had some severe ones, but when we can keep our environment set up to keep us on task, right? Because the only way that we're going to turn our situation around is through execution on our plans, right? But you're going to go from this low moment to a high, to an epic of, from a depressed feeling or phase, I don't want to say that from being a depressed person, but from somebody that's experiencing depression to somebody that's experiencing fulfillment in a pretty quick turnaround time. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be overnight. Might be months, might be a year, but that time's going to pass, and it's going to pass fast. Right. But we want to make sure that we go from that, that low moment to those, that fulfillment as quickly as possible. So setting up your physical environment and systems to make it as easy as possible to go out there and win and succeed, and as difficult as possible to go out there and lose. Okay. Next thing, step number 6, people. This is really important. You need to get yourself around enablers, or not enable, like motivators, right? Like you got to get yourself around the right people. You don't want to get yourself around enablers, right? Like meaning I don't want to be hanging out with people when I'm going through this very difficult time or ever, right? But definitely during this very difficult time, because a lot of people, they think they're doing you a favor, but they're just going to pull you back into that sorrow mode, pull you back into, of the, oh, you see, I'm so sorry going through that situation. Oh, you should just take some time off. You should go, hey, why don't we go out and have some drinks? And, I know you're going through a tough, like that shit isn't going to help you. right? What is going, like, you need to stay focused on taking the right actions to turn your situation around. And you need to be around people that are going to be hard on you. Yeah, right. Like a true friend is going to be like, hey, dude, like you need to just quit your whining, quit your bitching, take action, turn your shit around, get your shit together. Like I know it's sounds hardcore, but those are the people I want to be around in that situation. Yeah, right. I want to be around people that will tell me the hard truth and they're going to support me at the hard truth. Yeah, right. Like, okay, I'm experiencing a hardcore financial time, about halfway through my kind of entrepreneur, career, lost everything, went from, at least in my mind, to being on top of the world, making amazing money, having tons of money in the bank to freaking boom, lost it all. And not only did I lose it all, went to, negative $100,000 in credit card debt. Next thing you know, I mean, I've got like $4,000 a month of freaking car leases, $500,000 a month in mortgage debt. I'm $100,000 in debt. Just find out I got a kid on the way. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? In that time, I needed people around me that were like, dude, Josh, get your ass to work. Right? You need to be working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. You got to do whatever you got to do to turn your situation around, to take care of you, to take care of your family, like get to fucking work. Like that's the type of people I needed around me. Not people like, oh man, it's okay. Things are gonna work out. Let's go have a cocktail and just bitch and moan and whine about our problems. Yeah, right now, again, I'm not saying that people that are doing this are negative or bad. They're just bad for you at that moment in your life. They're doing it, because they care and they think that they're actually helping, but they're not helping, right? We don't want to be around those enablers. So be very selective at the people that you're spending your time with at that time, because we need to have those people that, again, are and maybe you just need to cut out people altogether for some time and you just need to be laser focused on just your plan, whatever. Okay. So then step number 8, control what your eyes and ears listen to. So what you watch and what you listen to. So again, we need to be focusing on things that motivate, things that inspire you into action, right? Things that, kind of give you hope of that brighter future. So I'm going to go back to, just when I was going through that very difficult time, from a financial standpoint, and whether it be, relationship, financial, whatever, like, you can apply this to it. But when I was going through this difficult time, like there's 2 books pretty much that I just had on repeat loop, right? Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain by Ryan Blair. So this is a dude that went out there and built like a $700 million company, lost everything, like he had to rebuild it and, whatever. And then I read Ashley Vance's Elon Musk. So you got Elon Musk, he goes out there and sells PayPal. He's worth like 200 million, reinvests all of that into starting SpaceX and Tesla, loses everything to the point. So like a year earlier is worth like 200 million. Year later, like loses, and it might have been a little bit longer than that, but loses everything. His wife, he loses his house. Wife divorces him, takes the kids. He's sleeping on his buddy's couch. And just a year or so later, worth a couple hundred million, top of the world, then boom, to nothing. And then he had to rebuild, and now he's rebuilt to the richest dude on the planet. And I'm guessing his ex maybe regrets abandoning him and taking the, who knows? Maybe not. Maybe they had other issues. But anyway, by me reading that, I'm like, okay, I'm watching, people that lost more than I did and didn't give up and rebuilt. Right. So that underdog story, like that just motivated me, man. So then I'm sitting there listening to that. I'm learning from what they did, and how they rebuilt, because I'm in my rebuilding phase at that point, but then from there, it's giving me inspiration, because now I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be able to tell my story someday. I'm going to be able to tell my rebound story. Yeah. Right. So it just kept me, but I'm not going out there. I'm not watching the news. I'm not watching, it's like all this other stuff that's going to depress you. Like, and then just pay attention to it. Okay. Like, look, dude, is this pulling you down? I'll give an example of this. I won't go into the specific scenario and situation, but, something happened. I'm like, oh, I didn't know what that thing was. Well, I'll give the example. I'll just, I'm always transparent here. So, okay, the whole George Floyd thing takes place, right? All the, riots start taking place, all this stuff start happening. Like, I don't watch the news, or at least at that time, I was definitely not watching the news, at that time in my life. And, and then I don't know, something came up in a conversation about, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I have no idea what you guys are even talking about. I'm like, dude, you don't know about this? And, these riots are going off now and, all this stuff. And it just, blew up into this thing. I was like, well, maybe it's not good, that, going through this pandemic, then all this stuff's going on. Like, maybe I should pay a little bit attention to some current events and some news and see what's going on in this world. Cause I had no damn clue about any of this, but then, so I started watching some of the news, started watching YouTube, and within like 2 weeks, man, I found my mood changing. I found like just my action, like I started like, I'm like, shit, man, world's going to hell. I'm dude, like I've started feeling the internal changes. So then I'm like, fuck this shit. Like I'd rather live under a rock and not knowing this shit exists. Just because things are going on in the world doesn't mean that that needs to be going what's going on in your world, right? So you can feel it. Yeah, right. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to control what my eyes see and what my earballs see, or my earballs, what my eyeballs see and what my ears, hear. And look, I'm not saying that, okay, because people are like, well, dude, Josh, shouldn't you stay, on like, look, the news isn't going to be feeding me anything that's actually legit and accurate anyway. I can figure out what's going on in the world without watching the news. I can figure out within 2 minutes with certain sources of what I need to know to go out there, navigate, and do the things I need to do. So I'm just saying, though, be very selective, right? If anything is leading to your depression, the depression that you're experiencing, because understand, like, don't allow yourself to attach labels. Yeah, right. Like one of my great mentors says, labels are for shampoos, not for human beings, right? Because as soon as you start attaching a label to yourself, well, then now that becomes your identity, right? And then, as Nietzsche said, you label me, you negate me, right? So then from there, like, look, you're not depressed. You might be experiencing depression at this season of life, but depression isn't your identity. You're just passing through, man. In different phases of life, we're going to experience depression. We're going to experience happiness. We're going to experience joy. We're going to experience sadness. We're going to experience these different array of emotions, but that doesn't mean that, that's who we are. So be very careful about attaching any of this to your identity, right? This is just an experience that you're passing through, and you will get through this, right? So control that. Okay. And then step number 8, which this kind of leads perfectly into that, is just understanding that this too shall pass, right? Like thus far at this point in your life, you've gotten through every bad moment, every bad day, every bad experience. And look, you're still alive. You're still here. This too shall pass. Even though it might feel like you got the weight of the world on you, the weight of the shoulder, like all this on you. Like, look, you're going to get through this. You're strong. You're going to be stronger because of this, right? Just keep pushing no matter what. And if you, apply, and I'm not saying that these are the only 8 steps. I'm just walking you guys through here what works for me and what's worked for me historically, and hopefully these are helpful and hopefully they work for you, but if you allow, here's what I can tell you though, is if you allow the pain to do this, these painful moments will all eventually become your greatest assets. And you may not understand right now how, but they will, right? But we got to allow that pain. I look at pain as, whether you want to call it universe or God, of just waking me the hell up to start paying attention, and then again, grow and metamorphosize into the next best version of myself. Right? Because a lot of times when we experience the pain is when we become asleep, and we lose focus. We got complacent, in life. If you're not growing and you're not expanding, you're decaying. So when we go into decay mode, that's usually when pain happens. So maybe we fell asleep at the wheel at some aspect of our life, and this is just God's way of waking us the hell up and delivering that pain. And God just knew that we wouldn't wake up until this immense amount of pain got delivered in our life. And then hopefully we can, we push through, we get through it, we become better, stronger, more disciplined, all of those things. But then from there, we need to learn from this moment. We don't want to just get through it. We want to get from it to ensure not repeating these same mistakes. We're gathering these learning lessons so we can get better going forward. So these are my 8 different steps of how to push through these very difficult times, and not just push through, not just get through, but get better, with these, but also at the same time, not allow it to let things, just spiral out of control and get worse and worse and worse, and your business to get worse and worse and worse. Look, we got to jump into action, and start following these 8 steps. And if you guys have questions about this, reach out to me. Look, I'm here to help, man. Joshua@gsdmode.com is my email. Don't worry, I'm not going to add you to, some spam list or something like that. So if you have, a difficult thing that you're going through, I wouldn't be able to get through a lot of difficult challenges myself personally if I didn't have people that I could, reach out to help with that. So Joshua@gsdmode.com. And again, if you need help in your real estate business, I invite you to schedule a 100% free, 100% zero pressure coaching call with me personally. So if you're an individual real estate agent, team leader, broker owner, I don't care what level that you're at, right? I got your back. I will get you dialed in. I will make sure you know exactly what to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. So I invite you to schedule a 100% free, 100% zero pressure coaching call with me personally. What we're going to discuss on this hour-long coaching call is where your business is at, what your 12-month goals are, what your long-term goals and visions are for you and for your business, what you are currently doing, what your biggest obstacles are. And I'm going to map out right here live together. We're going to go through exactly what to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. And I promise by the end of this call, we will eliminate the confusion and make sure you have clarity on exactly what you need to do. Now, full disclosure, last few minutes of this call, I'm going to walk through, what my coaching program entails and see if it's a, possible fit for you. And if it is, cool. If not, that's okay too. Don't need to move forward. Everything I do is zero pressure. I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to make you feel guilty. I don't do any of that bullshit. So you don't have to worry about any of that with me. It's not my stuff. It's for you. Great. If not, hey, that's okay too. We can still be friends. I will still make sure this is massively powerful and beneficial for you. You have my word on that. So if this is something that you want to schedule, go to www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. The only thing I ask is if you schedule this, please show up. Right. You're going to get a reschedule link. You're going to get reminders. If life comes up, things come up, you can't make it. There's going to be a reschedule link. Like, well, I get it. Reschedule. Cool. But just don't no-show me. If you no-show me, I'm going to save your name on a list. I'm not going to allow you to book another one. Because I'm taking time out of my life, my business, my family, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to pour into you and do everything I can to get you dialed in. And I respect your time, and I'm going to make sure that this is massively beneficial and helpful for you. I just ask that you give me the courtesy and respect my time too. So I will be there. I will be 5 minutes early if you want to jump on a few minutes early with me, but just, make sure to show up, be on time, don't no-show me, and we will get you dialed in. All right, guys, I hope that you found this helpful. Keep crushing it. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep kicking ass. We'll see you next time. Peace.